I'm going to try to explain about Module 7. Here is Module 7. A place where time and space are fluid, where inside and outside meet. It's kind of hard for me to explain what that's about, but I'm going to try to do that today. I'm going to turn the screen around and show you kind of my thought central. I have thoughts. I have a hard time connecting all of those thoughts, and so I will sometimes put a thought on a post-it note. And it's not that they're not connected inside of me, it's the ability to explain what is in my mind and in my heart. And today, I'm going to try to do that. I don't know if I'm going to succeed, but I'm going to try. So here, let me just show you. This is a corner in my family room, which doubles as my office. And here I have a lot of pictures of ancestors, of my parents, of my husband's parents, their just like extended family, and our wedding pictures. Okay, so right down here I have the saying that I wrote some time ago: when you can bear your own silence, you are free. That goes really well with what I'm going to try to explain today. And then there's some picture from my childhood. And here is my dots, my various thoughts. And in the middle it says, be here. My voice is going. Be here now. And see these dots? These thoughts. I'm going to try to connect these with you today. Not an easy task. So I was trying to begin to write the spark for this week, and I had these thoughts about the desires of my heart, and I started to write in my journal. So it's hard for me to put these thoughts into words. I'm going to take you outside and I'm going to try to explain this. There's my outdoor office. I'm hoping before I get into my day that I can express some of the things that are going through my mind about Module 7, especially that space between awake and asleep. So I'm going to just go through some of these post-it notes and hope that some of it starts to make sense. I tried to write it, and I'm hoping that speaking it will help. So there's this revelation comes in the space. Revelation comes in the space between awake and asleep. There's a special time of day. We're actually just a little bit beyond it this morning, between darkness and light. And there is something in that space that allows me to touch upon things that go beyond words. It's where the longing of my heart, my deepest desires sit. And I was writing about that today. And this is kind of a prayer. Oh, Father, the feelings of my heart are so poignant when it comes to this desire of my heart. I'm struggling to put them into mortal words. And I started to think about the scripture. John, in the Gospel of John, starts out, he says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. there is a place in my mind. Do you find this in yours too, where I know that there's a feeling, I know that there's a thought, but I can't really put it into words. When I can put it into words, I can begin to work on it in my conscious awareness. So I wrote, the word is the experience of revealing my inner world to people in the outer world. This is the beginning of creation. And if you go and you read right at the beginning of John, in the first chapter, in those first verses, he says it was the word that he's calling God. That's where creation began. So think about that for a second. When you can put something into words, it takes thoughts that form into something. So words are like clothing that you put on a body, or maybe the skin that you put over what's on the inside. We have this mortal body that clothes something deeper. All right, so I don't know, for some people you've probably turned off the video by now. Great. I only want the people who have not yet turned off this video and try to go a little bit deeper. I can't remember where I read this. Here's another one of my dots, my post-it notes, turning the camera around. It was talking about what mysticism is. I've always thought, oh, that's kind of a word that might be scary, or it's just people that are weird or whatever. But I like how it put it. It says mysticism is the direct experience of the sacred. That's all mysticism is. It's like, I want to touch something sacred, and it goes beyond words. And this is done, it says it takes transcending established beliefs. You have to bypass the intellect. So this thinking, brainy part of us, it's something beyond that. And it dissolves identification with the ego self. Okay, so ego, let's talk about that just for a second. I know we sometimes go, oh, that's because it feels good on his ego. And it's almost like it's an insult to have an ego. But we all have this part of us that we have to be in touch with what our mortal experience needs to be. So as a child, we begin to develop ego just to survive, just to please our parents as a child, to not get in trouble. That is our ego. But there is something beyond that I'm trying to explain here. So mysticism is going beyond this world, this egoic part of us that is part of survival. So I'm a mystic. That sounds kind of scary. Like in my church community, oh, mysticism. And if you're a mystic, you might be going off on the deep end. But if the definition of a mystic is that I want to touch the sacred, I want to experience the divine in a more direct way, then most of the people I go to church with, that's our goal, is to be in touch with the sacred. So I'm not afraid of the word mysticism now when I define it that way. And a mystic is not someone who is more worthy than anyone else. It's just somebody who decides to spend more time doing this work of touching the sacred. So with that definition, I am a mystic. Are you? Can you be a mystic with me? Let's do some mysticism. Let's touch the sacred. Let's try to have a direct experience with the divine. And there's nothing weird about that. That is a deep desire that if we get beyond the ego, we get beyond this life, it's a deep desire I think all of us have. And as we touch that, we become more whole. I think this is a place of great healing when we can reach out and have divine and sacred experiences directly in our life. Okay, so how do we get there? What stops us from having these kinds of divine experiences or sacred experiences? And I'm going to turn my camera around and read this post-it note. Don't be a slave to a specific outcome. Because if you do that, if you are enslaved, like it has to happen this way. I have in my mind the way I want it to be. And if it isn't that way, then I'm not going to recognize it. Okay, so when we are a slave to a specific outcome, we could miss something even better. So I think God has more possibilities than you and I can imagine. And we just turn it off. We just don't think about anything that's outside of what we already know. Well, how can we grow if we think we already know everything? It's impossible to know something new. So I want to be careful about having attachment to an outcome so we can begin to work for a goal. And I think this is very important to do. We need to have goals. We need to have vision. We need to think about what is it that I want in my life and what are the steps that it will take to get this thing that I want. But if we become really stuck on, okay, this is the way it has to happen, this is the way that life will be best, we might miss out on something even better that we haven't even imagined yet. All right, so prayer sometimes, I've heard somebody explain this and I thought it was really good. We sometimes think that prayer is like this cosmic vending machine. I put in my order, I put in my quarter, well, my dollar, my whatever. It might be a lot of amount, a price to pay for this vending machine, and we think, okay, this is what I want. I'm standing in front of a vending machine. I want the Doritos, and I put in my quarter, I push the button, and out comes the chocolate bar. I wanted the Doritos. I don't want the chocolate bar. And we get mad. But maybe inside that chocolate bar, we're like, okay, all right. Okay, God, you didn't bless me with what I want. So I can either be mad because out came the chocolate bar instead of the Doritos, or I can get curious and go, the chocolate bar. I'm pretty sure that I pushed the right button to get the Doritos, but now I have a chocolate bar. What should I do with that? Well, I guess I could give it away, or I don't know, save it for when I want to eat it, or I'm just going to open it. And what if you open that chocolate bar and you unwrap it and there is $100 bill? You couldn't even imagine that Willy Wonka had visited this machine and you now have an extra $100 that you didn't even know you could have. So sometimes we get so attached to what we think we want. I want the Doritos, that we don't realize that God says, I have something better for you. I'm going to give you something where if Doritos is really what you want, you can go get a ton of them, not just this one little package. So if we become attached to exactly what we want, we can totally miss something better. All right, so that's one of my thoughts about how can I touch the divine? How can I have sacred, direct experiences and be a mystic? Well, go for the vending machine, go for the goal, but expect something that you don't yet know, and that's okay. So here I go. I'm going to turn around the camera and we're going to do another post-it note. Do you love how it's just scribbled? This is how thoughts are. This is what I wrote one day. I can practice diligent effort. And I was thinking about something particular, I think, at that time, about practicing being in a group. Oh, yes, I remember. I was having a hard time at that time with a group of people that I was in a class with. And it was taking all my effort. All right, but practice with diligent effort with no attachment to outcome. Because, and then we would have to read Yoga Sutra 1.12 and 1.13. So I'm gonna do another video or article. I'm gonna do something about the Yoga Sutras, but not right now. So just remember this thing. I can practice diligent effort with no attachment to outcome. Can we do it? Can we have a vision? Can we look for something beyond us, something even better than we can imagine? And therefore, let go of our attachments of what we think the outcome should be. Okay, I think that's it. I think I'm going to stop there. This is getting long enough. I hope that you can try to digest that with me. Live our life in such a way that we don't really know what is coming, but we're not afraid. And we trust that what is coming is sacred, is divine. We have a desire to have direct experience. We want to be mystics. If you want to be a mystic with me, you are in the right place. If this sounds absolutely crazy, you probably want to go to a different source, because this is a deep desire of my heart. And I want to be with others that want to have direct experience with the divine and figure out what I can do to unblock getting in my own way, to get away from the programming that is necessary to happen from our childhood, and that creates what we call ego. That's a technical term. And get away from being a slave to always having to know what's next. Hopefully this is helpful, and it will help with this. This is going to be one of the last sparks that I'm going to do. I'll announce that on another day, what we're doing with the spark. But I hope that that is something that will deeply sink into your heart. Let's be mystics together. Let's try to touch the sacred and find that place between awake and asleep, before words are formed, where the deepest desires of our heart live, and sit with that. Have a great day.